Hello and welcome. So today I'm going to look at a tent with you. This is the Wechsel and it's the Exogen 1. This is a freestanding 3+ season geodesic 2-skin tent, and it weighs just over 1.4 kilos. And in terms of pack size, these are some sort of comparable tents. This is the Van Gogh Banshee Pro 200. This is the Nature Hike Cloud Up 2. I mean, this squashes down, there's nothing to it. And this is sort of packed solid. This tent's robust, tough enough to camp pretty much all year round, although I would probably stay off the very, very high summits in the winter. For kind of mid-level, low-level and summertime on a summit, absolutely fine. And, Wechsel are a German company. It's got some really good features. So as I say, inner, poles, pegs, and I'll leave the outer in there for a minute in case it blows away. So say this is a one-person tent. In the bag you obviously get the inner, the outer, the poles, but they also drop in a little pole repair kit should you need it, and some seam sealant if you need it. You don't need to seam seal this tent, but they provide it anyway. And you got these V-shape aluminium pegs. So first things first, peg out to the inner. I know what you're thinking. Inner pitch first, oh that's no good, but this inner material provides a little bit of waterproofing, so pitching it in the rain inner first is actually not a big issue. So as well as pegging the four ends, you've got this piece of tape that comes out. Peg that nice and tight out this way, then you've got a slightly smaller one on the back side and you peg that out. And then there are two poles, and these are anodized aluminium. So that's the cross pole, and then this one is a kind of pre-shaped V on each end, which will stretch the inner out and give you that sort of tent shape. And down on this corner you've got a red clip, and the end of the pole is red, so you match them up and then you know you've put the poles in the right place. Right, and then clip the inner to the poles. It couldn't be simpler. So that's your basic inner. That in itself has some degree of water protection. You've got little mesh windows, and other than that it's this kind of water resistant fabric. Then we take our cross pole, and this will give stability and shape to the tent. And this clips into these little side areas like so, and then that pulls out the inner to give it the shape you want. Clip them ones from the back side, and that really pulls this out. So the inner is in itself is nice and tight now. So that gives you an idea of the internal space you got. You got a little bit more room that side, so that's for gear storage when you're inside the tent, and then the rainfly will come out over this side, so this is your vestibule space. You got a nice big internal door, unzips all the way down here. We'll get the rainfly on, and then we'll have a proper look round. So again, you've got the red clip, which is what I tend to do first, because then you've matched up the red with the red with the red, and everyone's a winner. You've got those four end clips and then you've got another 2 on the sides to really pull that all taut. So that's it pitched without using any guy lines or anything. There's tensioners on those clips, so you can just pull it all tight without even guying it out. And look how tight that is now. No guy lines. You've got 1 each side. And then 1 on each end. You've got air vents at each end, and these obviously are velcroed on with this little peggy poley thing, and that works so often. These sort of tents, this feature doesn't really do a lot, but that works really well. And if you're not using it, there's a patch of velcro in there so you can seal it shut to stop this flapping in the wind. You've got this nice big storm flap that's velcroed. Check out the simplicity. Got a little toggle here, and all you need to do with that is just clip it up there, fold that under, and this gives you, ultimately, it's like a guttering system. So when the rain hits this part of the tent, it just catches in this fold and drains all the way down to this little corner, which will then, you know, protect your inner. You don't have that, you know, when you roll up tent doors, they do tend to come out and just start flapping everywhere. This, you know, yes, it's a little flappy, but I like the concept of using it like a gutter. The inner rolls up, clips up there. This one does sag a little, but as I said before, they seem to all do that. Okay, so we're in. So space-wise, you know, I can sit right up in it, and I've got, what, 2 inches maybe above my head, you know, really sitting up. Having used this, you know, there is bags of headroom in here. I've had a couple of nights in it where I've just felt really comfortable and really happy in my place. And you've got these old-fashioned ties, which I used them once. They're not necessary, and I have hung a light from them, but they're another, you know, sort of wind resistance feature, you know, to keep it nice and tight when the wind's really rocking. Okay, so in terms of length, I'm gonna put my feet right down the end, and then headroom. What have we got above me? 1, maybe 2 hand lengths, so plenty of room for the taller person. I'm 5'8". A 6-footer will fit in here nicely, I'm sure. Storage wise, you've got this space here, which I have had my backpack in there stood up when I've been on a multi-day trip, and yeah, plenty of space. And then you've got this cooking area out here, which if you zip the rain fly up is, you know, space for a very small stove and a little bit of cooking. So I've got 2 fairly large storage pockets right next to you. If your head is here and your sleeping pad is running down there, you've got this little triangular space for your bits and bobs. You've got 1, 2 loops here that you can hang a light from. And when you're zipped in, I really like this little mesh window. I think it's excellent because you can talk to the person next to you whilst being zipped in, therefore keeping that, you know, body heat you've generated in the tent to keep warm, keeping that sort of sealed in. So yeah, a very nice touch. This video is more about what you think, but I'll give you my 2 pence worth anyway. I think it's a good design. It's clever. It's got some really nice touches. Things I don't like about it first, I suppose. This is very similar to my Nature Hike Cloud Up 2. Similar kind of size, similar internal sizes and all that sort of thing. This is slightly smaller because it's a 1-person tent. The Cloud Up 2 is a kind of 1.5-person tent, so it's that little bit wider when you're sitting inside. This one maybe has marginally more headroom because the inner is so tight, whereas the Cloud Up, you know, it's a bit droopy in the middle. I'm not a huge fan, a lot of people are, I'm not a huge fan of the side opening tent. I like the Cloud Up because of that sort of tunnel thing. The side opening tent is something I've not really had much experience with, but it strikes me as if you pitch it with the rain coming towards you, the rain is likely to get in, whereas that's less the case with a small front opener. But I know a lot of people don't like the small front opener and they prefer this bigger, you know, side opening tent. It comes down to personal taste. But in terms of pitching, you know, this pitches really well. It's so tight. I was on Table Mountain with this last week, and it was windy in the night. We were up high, and yeah, it didn't move. And I slept for 9 hours, and it rained through the night. And as I say, the wind got up, and it was a little bit rough, but I didn't notice a thing. The tent just doesn't move. Something I like though, you know, 1.4 kilos. I mean, that's not to be sneezed at. That's quite light for a multi-day trip. It's very packable. A lot of tents I have to strap to the outside of my bag. This one fits sideways in my bag, so you know, that's a plus. Packable and light enough to carry. I talked to you about the fly sheet because a lot of people are interested in that. These are not taped seams, but it doesn't require seam sealing. I looked at the company website. The fly sheet is silicone coated. The seams are stitched with a kind of poly cotton, which when it comes into contact with the water it swells, and that provides the waterproofing. So you know, it doesn't need any seam sealing. It's ready to rock when you get it out the bag. But that being said, you know, the makers have provided some seam sealant for those that, you know, really want to go out in horrendous weather and they just want to make doubly sure. So, you know, that's a nice touch. Good move by the company. But as I say, I've been in this where it's rained all night and yeah, perfectly dry inside. Not a drop came through. So, you know, I wouldn't bother seam sealing it personally. Things I like about this tent. I like the fact that the inner is waterproof. I think that's clever. I like the fact that it just doesn't move. So solid. When the door's shut and it's pegged out properly, it's just rock solid. There is absolutely no flapping on this tent. This, when it's pegged like that, this will flap a little bit because it's just loose. But when you shut the door and you're inside, it's the weather's just going on around you. That's really cool. The other thing I like, this door, you can stick a trekking pole in here and pull this out, bring an extra peg with you and just peg it out to give yourself that extra kind of dry space if the weather's bad. Peg this out tight and have that as an open cooking area and sit with your legs sticking out and be totally sheltered. I think that's a really, really cool touch. So that is the Exogen 1 by Wechsel, and it's quite a cool tent. I like it. I think it's a great kind of multi-day backpacking tent, lightweight, bike packing, all that sort of thing. It's got a lot going for it. These are now in stock on Outdoor Gear Essentials. I'll link that website below. Colin that runs it is a very nice man. He supplied me with this for a bit of testing, and he's sourced me a couple of other tents over the years as well. So he's a top man. I think he's getting them in or got them in now. So if you want to have a look at one, then talk to Colin. I'm sure you can find them in other places too, but you know, I like to help the British sellers in the outdoor community because you know, times are tough. So check out the website. But that's it from me. What are your thoughts? Put it in the comments. Give it a thumbs up. All that sort of thing. Thank you ever so much, and see you soon.